I fear that we will not have an election in 2028. I really mean that in the core of my soul, unless we wake up to the code red, what's happening in this country.
You know that we are in a precarious spot in the United States of America when multiple different independent governors, independent of one another, are going on the news to ring the alarm bell about us losing our democracy. And that's what's happening right now. J.B. Pritzker went on with Morning Joe yesterday, and Gavin Newsom with Stephen Colbert last night, and they're both talking about the same message. Now, obviously, they are both Democrats, but they are opponents relative to each one of these dudes wants to be president of the United States next. Both of these dudes are going to be running for president. So they are not just allies in democracy or both members of the Democratic Party. They're also political opponents, and they will be in the primary. But and I say that to say that I don't think they're communicating or coordinating on messaging strategy. It wouldn't behoove either one of them to do so relative to their upcoming political battle. But they are saying the exact same thing. They are sounding the same alarm. They are worried about losing our democracy, and Donald Trump, which we're witnessing it in public view, him set the stage to interfere in the 2026 midterm and 2028 general election. First, we're going to start with J.B. Pritzker, this brief clip, about a minute long. And I want you to pay attention to what he's talking about, because it is happening before our eyes, but you just need to put the pieces together.
Well, I believe that one of the reasons Donald Trump wants to send troops into American cities is because he wants to be able to take control of the 2026 elections. Remember that back in 2020, he and Michael Flynn, the former general and former advisor to the president, talked about actually taking control of the ballot boxes in 2020 because they didn't trust the outcome of the election. Now, if they've got troops in cities and it becomes a kind of norm for people, then it won't be abnormal for them when they're going to vote having troops at the ballot boxes. He'll say that he's protecting the ballot. And if he thinks there's some kind of fraud, and what I mean by that is if he thinks that his party isn't going to win, then they very well could do what they suggested they were going to do in 2020, which is take control of the ballot boxes. So I believe that is what this is about. It's about intimidating people from going to the polls who would not vote for his party, and about the ability to take control of the elections if it doesn't go his way.
I'm glad he adjusted the language, because it's not just about if Donald Trump believes there was fraud in an election. Donald Trump is going to do what he's going to do if he sees the outcome not go his way. If he thinks that there's a chance that a Democrat, Donald Trump claims to have won California, if not for the fraud. California, the city of Los Angeles, the state that contains Los Angeles and San Francisco, that state, he believes he won in grand, overwhelming fashion. He said the same thing about Massachusetts, maybe the bluest state in all of the union. Ridiculous. So if Donald Trump, using that addled moron brain, wants to interfere, he'll make up a presupposition to do so. Gavin Newsom going on just about the same thing last night on Stephen Colbert, talking about future elections and what he is really fearful about. And I think it's important, and we all need to start repeating these ideas so our neighbors and acquaintances and coworkers and family can also start waking up to the reality that Donald Trump is going to interfere with democracy, just like he's done in the past. After all, he attempted to overthrow the United States government in an effort to stay in office.
We are struggling to communicate. We're struggling to win back now the majority in the House of Representatives, and that's a big part of what I'm doing, not just today in terms of the work out here, raising money, but also raising awareness around how Donald Trump is trying to rig the midterm elections and how I fear that we will not have an election in 2028. I really mean that. And the core of my soul, unless we wake up to the code red, what's happening in this country, and we wake up soberly to how serious this moment is.
He is right. Unless we wake up, code red, I don't know if he's watching too much Few Good Men, but unless we wake up to the 5-alarm fire that is taking place in this country right now, that not enough there's too many media that are sleeping on their job, that are missing the moment, that are focusing on other things, that are trying to balance, the Democrats are just as bad as Republicans or whatever nonsense. And we need people to start waking up to this, because in the absence of the media doing their job, there's not enough of me, there's not enough people who do my job to keep people attuned to what's taking place. And there's still a wide swath of the people that would not agree to the reality we're living in. And Gavin Newsom addressed that as well.
We had a 15-year-old disabled kid in Los Angeles, was waiting for his sister to come out of high school, and they pulled out guns on this kid. They pulled out guns and handcuffed this young child. That's happening in the United States of America. Masked men jumping out of unmarked cars, people disappearing, no due process, no oversight, zero accountability, happening in the United States of America today. People ask, well, is authoritarianism, you're being hyperbolic? Bull, we're being hyperbolic. If you're a black and brown community, it's here in this country. And so I'm deeply proud that I had the privilege of signing the nation's first bill to address the issue of masking, also to require you have simple identification, to your point. I mean, if some guy jumped out of an unmarked car in a van with a mask on, tried to grab me, I mean, by definition, you're going to push back. And so these are not just authoritarian tendencies, these are authoritarian actions by an authoritarian government. You saw what Stephen Miller said last week. This should put chills up fine, called the Democratic Party an extremist organization. Basically a terrorist organization, saying he's going after his enemies. You saw the tweet that Donald Trump sent out, Truth Social, basically telling Pam Bondi, I want these 3 people taken out. That's happening in the United States. This can't be normalized. None of this can be normalized.
He's right. If you're in a marginalized, traditionally abused population in this country, you know what's going on. Unfortunately, there's many, many white people in this country, middle-class white people who are comfortable in their existence, who don't feel like they're a target. If you're black, if you're brown, if you're an immigrant, if you're gay, if you're trans, absolutely, you know you've got a target on your back, sometimes literally. But if you're white, middle class, doing okay, you got a 401k, you own your home, you've got no problems. Yeah, you don't like what you see, but it's not really affecting you. It's gonna come for you. They're gonna come for you. He will come for you. Because fascism always needs a target. Fascism always needs an enemy. And in the absence of a legitimate enemy, they'll invent one. There's always a boogeyman hiding under the bed that needs to be vanquished when you're Donald Trump. He's, after all, solving a crime problem that didn't exist. You will become that crime problem or that other unnamed problem that doesn't exist that needs to be solved. Wake up. Wake up. I've got another one here, and it's more on... Let's talk about this. I wanted to end this on this, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to go into it because people get squirrely when you start criticizing Democrats. But listen, if a nationally prominent Democrat is criticizing the party, and the brand is how he uses the term, I have criticism for that because it's not the brand, it's actual leaders. He's talking about Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, in my view, of his criticisms. And it's time for them to resign. It's time for them to step down from their leadership positions. They don't have to leave Congress. They don't have to leave the Senate and the House. But certainly, we need people who are ready for this moment, who are born for this moment. I put it in terms of mafia movies. We need a wartime consigliere in this moment. not people who are begging Donald Trump to come to the negotiating table, like Chuck Schumer, who can't get over himself thinking that that's going to get the job done or that's resistance in any way. And here's Gavin Newsom talking about that very thing while missing the true element of what he's talking about when he's talking about the brand of the Democratic Party.
Why do you think it so deeply resonates with people? Why do you think this has made such a difference? I mean, you're glad it is, but what do you think people are responding to?
Just the fight. I think, you know, this is a tough time.
I'm aware.
But a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of folks that honestly just don't know we're going to get our country back. And I get it. This guy is flooding the zone. He's dominating the narratives. Facts don't seem to matter. And Democrats, frankly, have had a difficult time pushing back. And Democrats feel that, you know, times there's sort of this weakness that dominates our brand and our party. And I think what people appreciate is that we're willing to fight, and not only fight symbolically by having a little bit fun, but fight substantively. We have 41 lawsuits against this son of a bitch. We're pushing back and we're winning. You know, and we're filling a void on a lot of issues. I'm out here for Climate Week. California is the tentpole in terms of climate policy in this country. As he walks away from Paris, he walks away from leadership, moral authority around the rest of the world. California is trying to assert itself on health policy. Same thing. We created this West Coast collaborative. We're not going to listen to this guy. We're not going to listen to him trying to pronounce acetaminophen, or we're not going to sit there, listen to all that. No one trusts the guy.
He's being cute with the word there. And Democrats, frankly, have had a difficult time pushing back. There's sort of this weakness that dominates our brand. There's no weakness that dominates the brand. I'm not worried about the brand of the Democratic Party. I'm worried about leadership. I'm worried about actually protecting people's lives and well-beings and freedoms and liberties. And we're not getting it done. Largely, we're not getting it done. It's a problem that we can poll just a handful of people who are actually doing resistance, and that leaders are not. Hakeem Jeffries refusing to endorse Mamdani, the Democratic nominee for mayor in New York. Chuck Schumer just begging Donald Trump in this weird, obsequious way for a meeting to come to the negotiating table, as though Donald Trump gives a single f*** about negotiating and not shutting down the government. They exist in a political order that no longer exists. They're operating as though it's the 1990s when it is not. And I'm glad to see Gavin Newsom talk in these terms, albeit kind of milquetoast in nature. We do need aggression. We do need leadership. We do need people with their eye on the ball and exist in the reality that we currently have on us. You can't create a new reality. It's not MAGA world here. Anyway, I would love your opinion. I hope that you are on the page that Gavin Newsom is on, that I have been on for months and months and months, for years, about Donald Trump, that this is an existential crisis for our democracy. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel. You can click the subscribe button below this video. You can also like and follow the Facebook page, Dollemore Daily. I would appreciate that. Goes a long way towards supporting what we do here. If you want to talk about this, we could do so in the comments wherever you're watching the video, on YouTube or on Facebook, or you can call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you. I will see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another.